Welcome back to the PCOS Party Podcast. My name is Georgie, aka G, and I am your host for today. And we have got a very special guest here, a very lovely lady close to my heart called Danny. Thank you for joining us, my love.
Thank you for having me.
So Danny is a health and mindset coach, but specifically looking at and working around the gut and mental health connection, which is actually something that I have recently been diving into trying to understand, because the gut, as they call it, is a second brain.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's insanely complicated. But we're going to sort of talk and dive into ways that you guys can help your gut if you're suffering out there. And yeah, just going to see what we can chat about today. So Daddy, tell us a bit about you, where you're from, what's your story?
Well, I'm from the UK originally, so born over there in London, but obviously now living in Dubai. And the story starts back around when I was about 15, so 20 years ago now, a long time ago. And
don't look a day over 21, hun.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, long time ago. So back when we didn't have like social media and all this advice and all these like buzzwords, health and wellness wasn't really a thing. You just had to go to the doctors, you know what I mean, to figure stuff out. Luckily I had like supportive parents around the time that, you know, my health journey started. So basically it started with anxiety. Okay. So that's what I got, stress, anxiety at such a young age, where it was just really complicated, just didn't know really what was going on, and why I was feeling that way. You know, I was a dancer at the time, I'd grown up dancing, I was, you know, really good at school and everything like that. So it was just a really complicated thing to navigate at such a young age, but also with really minimal support apart from GP doctors. And what I've learned over the years, these GP doctors can be amazing for certain things, but they only have 2 hours of nutrition training. Yeah. So they never made that link between the fact that maybe it was my diet, maybe it was certain lifestyle things that were going on, and it was just ploughed through, you know, through loads of pharmaceuticals and things like that. Of course. So that's how that whole journey kind of started. And unfortunately, it just got worse and worse because I wasn't really getting to the root cause of these issues. I think people thought I was anxious, I was stressed. Was I depressed? Was I not happy? But in myself, generally, I was. You know, I had nothing to worry about. You know, my parents were still together at this point. I was living at home. So it was just really, you know, really difficult time. It then led to just other problems. So I ended up having alopecia. I always get such compliments on my hair, which is insane because it was all falling out.
Wow.
Literally.
Yeah, your hair is stunning, hun.
I know, I always get asked, have you got extensions in? And I'm like, no, actually, but it always just makes me feel really grateful, you know, because at one point I didn't think I was going to ever have any hair back.
And just started. Because you've obviously healed yourself and everything, that it's now come back, right?
Exactly. So at a young age, I was at college at this point, feeling a little bit better, but then hair started falling out. And then it led to other issues with stress, which caused like depression. I had 5 years of insomnia during my 20s. So we're talking just like a roller coaster of stuff that just was never ending. It was like a domino effect, basically. Until I got to a point maybe around about 5 years ago where gut health started to become a thing. And I was like, right, it's all connected, this makes sense, it's something I hadn't really explored before. So I actually started to study nutritional therapy in order to heal myself, first and foremost. I had no intention of becoming a coach at this point. This was all just to help myself. And yeah, it's been a bit of a buzzword, hasn't it, you know, over the last few years, and I'm so glad because it's really helping people make that connection between their mental health and the gut.
For sure.
And yes, we can have so many different gut symptoms that are physical, but mine was definitely a lot more of the mental issues that were going on and just like the connection between that and what was going on inside. So I studied nutritional therapy. I started to learn so much more about that gut-brain connection. Like you said, it is our second brain.
It is, right?
And implementing so many just like small things over time. And it is such a complex journey. It was really, really hard. I definitely failed quite a few times to get to where I wanted to be. But with the help of a coach at the time, so I had that accountability, you know, because it is a little bit of a roller coaster. It's a lot of testing, like, is this working, is this not? And I know you've been on a similar journey as well with, you know, back, forth, and you get really frustrated. You're like, why is this not working? Especially when you're still dealing with a lot of these other things that are still going on and you're maybe not seeing improvement straight away. It's so amazing to have that person that's also maybe been through that or has studied it or has that, you know, knowledge and information to be like, no, this is normal. Keep going. And it really was just little tiny things that I was doing every day, persistently and consistently over a period of time, that got me into a better place. And once I started to see that light at the end of the tunnel, it was just incredible. But to think that I'd gone through such a long period of time not knowing about the gut, I got put on like every single type of like diet going, like it was just diet this, diet that,
synthetic drugs,
intolerance tests, have you tried this, have you tried that, you know, the amount of colonoscopies, because I was having like really bad like IBS issues, which was obviously again just linked to the anxiety that I was having, and then it was IBD because it was getting a bit worse, and they're like, these are all just syndromes, they're not real things.
Which they tell you there's no real cure, but here, pop some pills and off you go. It's the same with PCOS, you know, it's the same with so many conditions now, they just throw pills at you.
I know.
Where they actually just don't actually, you know, realise that they are actually causing more harm than good a lot of the time. You know, all these drugs, if you think that what you're putting in your stomach, people are getting stomach ulcers and then acid reflux and digestive issues, you know, it's making it worse.
Yes, and I never knew that. And obviously growing up into a very supportive family, but a family that only knew to send me to the doctor, especially at a young age, I've had so many antibiotics, so many different drugs, especially with sleeping issues, really strong like sleeping tablets, but I knew no different. I thought, you know, I had that mindset of that you get ill, you go to the doctors, you get the drugs, you trust that man in the white coat to, you know, do best by you. But now I've learned actually, you know, the pharmaceutical industry is a business. And when you get stuck in, you know, in that world, it can be really, really hard to get out. Don't get me wrong, Western medicine can be great for certain things.
Of course.
But in terms of like healing the gut, like you just said, you're taking those tablets all the time and it's making it even worse. It kills all the, you know, the good bacteria in your gut. So yeah, your symptoms might lighten slightly and you might feel a little bit better, but it is just that plaster effect, you know. You're putting a plaster on, or it's like having an open wound in your hand and you're getting this dirty finger and you're prodding at it, wondering why it's not healing. So once I learned a lot more about that as well, and the pharmaceutical industry as a whole, I started to think, right, I need to change my mindset around taking drugs now, and that it is just a plaster. I need to get to the root cause. And for me, the mental issues were first, the gut came second. A lot of people come to me, like clients, with the gut physical symptoms. Oh, I'm bloated, or I've got skin issues, or I've got brain fog, or whatever it might be, which is all like gut related. And then once you dig a little bit deeper, you find that, actually they do find that they stress quite easily. They do have periods of anxiety, or other, you know, issues that are linked to the brain, basically. So mine just happened the other way around. It was that last missing piece of that jigsaw. And that's why I love, you know, to speak about it now and make it a bit more mainstream, that, start with the gut. Don't do what I did, which, you know, no fault of my own, because obviously the information just wasn't out there and I just didn't know. Like, you know, when they say knowledge is power, my God, like if I knew this years ago. But it's now such a buzzword, I think, because we've got social media. Like, I sometimes hate on social media, but it can be great.
Oh, it can be great if you follow the right accounts, you know. And I mean, I learned so much on that platform, I really do, because I follow all, you know, top specialists and everything else. But yeah, I mean, your story, wow. And so, I mean, you look amazing. So, you know, it's obviously, you have done the work, but there's a few things I'd like to sort of touch on. Is, first of all, you know, they say 95% of your serotonin is made in the gut, right? And that's like your happy hormone, right? And that's a huge amount. That's literally all of it.
All of it.
You know, and they are saying now, I've looked at some studies in the research that they're looking at the connection with the gut and sort of depression. And actually people who have got IBS or gut issues, you know, are they depressed? So, you know, that it's great that they are actually understanding and looking at it now, and trying to almost come away from the pharmaceutical world. Unfortunately, the pharmaceutical world is always going to be, you know, it's always going to be up there and beat the holistic side, because money and X, Y, and Z, right, is very powerful. But we can do our bit and our best. And I think as coaches, you know, me going through my PCOS journey and reversing that, you with your gut, like, I do believe the best coaches in these worlds are the ones that have gone through it themselves, you know,
massively.
and come out the other side.
Yeah.
One, because we can relate to the serious pains and the stuff, you know, the struggles and everything. But two, because, you know, would you go to a business coach who doesn't own a business? No. You know,
Exactly.
Would you go to a gut health coach who doesn't have a great gut and is functioning and thriving and whatnot? Same with me, you know, I really strongly believe that. What do you think really through your journey? I know stress is a big one, so I suffer quite a bit with gut up, downs, round and rounds, and specifically when I'm in Dubai and I'm going through like a really like stress. When I say stressful period, for me it's good stress because I thrive off it, because I love what I do and I love my business and helping my clients, but I do definitely feel like I get bloated and I get bad pain. And do you think that's definitely down stress in the gut? There's a big connection there, isn't there?
Oh, there's a massive connection there, and I think that's why we have to eliminate stress as much as possible when we're working on the gut, because you could be doing all that good stuff in terms of eating the right things or eliminating the right things, you know, to improve your digestion, to improve your, you know, your physical symptoms. But if we're not doing the work in terms of reducing stress, anxiety, overthinking, all of these things, you could just be basically staying in the same place. Or sometimes I've seen clients actually start to get worse, even though they're putting all that good work in. So it is really, like, in my head, I don't like to put a percentage on it, but 50% is what you're eating or what you need to eliminate, and maybe how you're eating it as well, which is a big thing that I focus on. It's not just what do you think I'm eating that makes me bloated? It's like, well, how are you eating these things? Are you eating on the go? Are you rushing? Are you in this constant state of fight or flight? And then the other half is actually reducing stress, like your environment. Are you in a toxic relationship right now that's actually let's not even go there. It's not even, that's a whole other podcast for another time, right?
Yeah.
We're friends behind the scenes, so we have all the kinds of girly chats, don't we? So another day. But like, are you in a toxic relationship? Like, have you got good friends around you? Is your job stressing you out? Do you have purpose? Are you passionate about things? Like, I go into all of that stuff, and I think that's why the health and the mindset coaching for me has had a major link. I can't do one without the other. I can't help you heal your gut if you're not in the right mindset around healing your gut. You know, because it can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of like new habits you need to create. So that mindset really needs to be there. That goal and that why needs to be so big that you get up every day and you do those little things. So a lot of the stuff that I talk about that people need to do, like try breathwork, try meditating, walk in nature, like small things to help reduce stress, to get into that parasympathetic state, to, you know, get into rest and digest mode, to ease digestion, to help your body basically function how it should. But do we always do them? No, and it's always the small things. It really even us as coaches, right? Like, we can't sit here and admit that we do those things every day, because we don't. And I'm very honest with my clients. I'm not going to tell you to do stuff that I have struggled with, or I would struggle with. No.
And also, it's very hard sometimes to like practice what you preach, you know. I've actually said sometimes I get sick of my own voice, my own advice. You know, it is difficult, and that's actually I've got a coach now, specifically more on like my training side and my like exercise, because you kind of lose yourself a little bit along the way because you're giving so much to your clients and everything else. And it is just this big ball of like trying to adult and trying to manage everything as best you can. But the stress thing, I think it's like, I didn't realize, I call stress the silent killer. Like, I didn't realize actually how much it has such a huge effect. Like for PCOS specifically, also cortisol, like, you know, it can hinder fat loss, it can stop ovulation, like massively. Because I guess like back in like, you know, we were sort of cavemen, and just how we're made up, right? It's almost like when your body goes into an unsafe environment, your body's very clever, right? It's on your side, And it's like, right, mayday, you're unsafe. We're not going to get you pregnant because you can't bring a baby. And actually your body almost needs to hold on to fat in case you don't come across food.
Yeah.
You know, so stress is, it's crazy. So meditation, as you said, walking in nature, is there anything else that you would like really recommend to sort of help, you know, get yourself into a sort of a lower stress environment?
I'll be completely honest, breathwork, before it became a buzzword, before Wim Hof started like diving into like ice cold lakes in the middle of nowhere and doing all these breathing techniques, which I'm so glad he did, because it's become this thing now, right? But it's so much more than that. It definitely saved me. It saved me from so many stressful situations, just bringing that subconscious breathing to the conscious level. A lot of us just don't breathe properly. Like, we breathe a lot here, you know, it's all here, and we're like all in the chest, you know, especially if you're anxious or stressed and you're rushing around. But definitely when people have got digestive issues, we should be breathing more like into the belly. Do you know what I mean? And like activating this like deep gut belly breathing, and just taking that moment for yourself, getting more oxygen around the body, around the brain. Like, this is what we really need to be doing more of, I think. Like, and it's just a tiny few minutes a day. Like, you don't need to take a lot of time to do it. And it's something you can do at any point, right? Like, we could sit here and take a minute
and do it,
and just breathe properly.
I think it's a habit, again, that people just need to build, right? Everything is a habit, and if you don't, you know, if you don't actually focus on that and put some time out every day to do it. But I have heard recently, like, you know, probably just watched social media, and my brother actually came to me a couple of weeks ago with some tape, like sleeping tape.
Yeah.
So, and he was showing me, I was absolutely fascinated by it, of these people who basically, we're meant to just breathe out of our nose, I think, right? And people who are sleeping and snoring, and when they breathe through their mouth, it completely changes their facial structure.
Yeah.
And again, maybe that has something to do with sort of stress and whatnot, but he actually wants to tape his mouth now when he sleeps, because he snores so badly.
Yeah.
And he also has sleep apnea.
Oh, I see.
So they're like taping his mouth to basically try and obviously like control that and change the thing of your face. But are you meant to breathe through your nose?
A lot more than we do, yes. Obviously, we naturally breathe through our mouths because we're talking, right? And obviously we're taking in air and things like that. But breathing through the nose is so much healthier. There's actually people running marathons now, like just doing like nasal breathing. Like, they obviously need to do a lot of practice, and it's a certain technique beforehand. But during breathwork and meditation sessions that I do now, you know, round Dubai, because people struggle to know, how do I breathe properly then? Or like, how do I meditate and all this kind of stuff? And, you know, if you're an overthinker, like I've been most of my life, it's a really hard thing to practice by yourself. Like laying there in silence or whatever, you might be in a dark room, and then all of a sudden that's when it gets worse, right? But during those breathwork techniques, actually teach people how to breathe properly through their nose, like with alternate nose breathing, and you feel amazing after, and then you're just like, whoa. Even after a few minutes, you start to feel a little bit dizzy, a bit lightheaded, but that's the oxygen tension actually working, and you're like, wow, it's how it's actually meant to be. And when you think, without breathing, we're not alive, right? It's functioning our whole body. So when you bring that to a conscious level and start to breathe properly, but like you said, it's like anything, we need to create these better habits for ourselves. But definitely for people at night, I've told a lot of clients that about the taping, just to create again a better habit of breathing through the nose. But I can't believe there's these people like literally running whole marathons. Yeah, it's insane.
Oh God, I mean, I think I could run a mile. Actually, no, that's.
I'm just thinking, if that was me trying to run a marathon, I wouldn't care so much how I'm breathing, whether it's mouth, nose. I'm just like, I just need to
get me to the end. Like
exactly.
Yeah, that is madness. Okay, so let's just go back to the gut here, because I think, especially in Dubai as well, the amount of clients that I have, and friends, myself, I speak to, because Dubai imports pretty much all of their fresh produce and their vegetables and fruits. And the other day in my flat at home, I've got a lettuce that has literally been sat there for 8 weeks. It's still not moldy. Right? And it's very scary now. You just don't know what food to trust. Also, you can't always buy organic because it's through the roof expensive.
Yeah.
It's pumped with pesticides, and obviously, like, you go into Spinneys now and it's like they've got these mangoes that are like the size of your head.
I know.
And you're like, what are they doing to them? That's abnormal. Like, what are you doing to them? Exactly. Do you think, I think there's got to be something, you know, within all these chemicals that are definitely adding to upset our microflora and, you know, to maybe cause a lot of this pain. Because weirdly, when I go sort of home for the summer, or I'll go to, I don't know, to Spain, and I'm eating a lot more, like, I guess, fresh, like, you know, fish and local produce, I don't suffer half as much as I do here.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, Dubai, you know, has something, there is things that we should be, like, looking out for or, like, watching?
I think so, and especially because of the Deliveroo culture here. I think a lot of people are ordering foods a lot more. We're going out and eating a lot more. It's expensive to buy food here as well. I have a lot of clients say, yeah, but it's cheaper for me to order off Deliveroo. It actually is.
But
then how do you know how that food's been made?
I know.
Like, I know you preach a lot, and I do too, about the seed oils recently.
Yeah.
And we just don't know how that food's been made. Even if you're clicking on the healthy section of Deliveroo, the other day actually I clicked on there, because I've got used to, you know, there are some good places out there that you can order from, and I try to, you know, encourage clients, if you're going to, like, try to order from these few places. I think it was Krispy Kreme or something like that coming up in the morning, like, healthy breakfast idea, and I'm like, yeah, God. Great, a nice sugary donut. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a donut, but not first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
do
that's
you know what I mean? Like,
again,
hello,
blood sugars.
Blood
no,
sugars.
That's
exactly.
not how we want to start our morning,
no,
girls.
Exactly. But I think, obviously, the best way is to be making your own food. Then you know how you're cooking it. You know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, pesticides, toxins, they're everywhere.
So
and
you
it's
can't
really
escape
hard.
it. You actually should tell you though, ladies, seriously, Viva. Viva is brilliant. I can't believe I only found it about a year ago, but that is all local produce, I think.
Yeah.
And it does actually go moldy.
Yeah.
And it does actually go off, and I love it. It's like you have to eat it by a certain, you know, date or time.
And that's a great sign as well to look out for.
Yeah.
If your food is actually going mouldy.
Yeah.
It's a bit like those, like, weird tests they've done with McDonald's in the past that I saw years ago. Like, they just left it out.
Yeah.
And it still almost looked the same. I think, I don't want to say it was like a year, but it was like a long time. And that just shows you, like, what is actually in that food if it's not actually going off.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do just need to try it as much as possible. It is just a little bit more difficult here, but that's why with clients out in Dubai with all these rich foods and they don't know how things are being made, I do just predominantly promote an anti-inflammatory diet as much as possible, just to reduce that inflammation, because otherwise that omega-6, those inflammatory foods, is just on the rise every day. So we need a really good omega-3 to help battle that, to help balance that out. Good herbal supplement, you know, and doing all those lifestyle things as well that we've spoke about, just to help the digestive system basically cope. Especially if you've come from the UK, which I did, cooking predominantly most of the day, trying to buy organic when I can, but kind of knowing more so, you know, having access to, like, farm shops and stuff.
Yeah, it's so true.
I miss the farm shops.
I know, me too.
You know, like local honey and all this stuff.
And also in the summer, you used to go pick the strawberries. Yeah, it really hurt my back, but yeah. But yeah, you're so right.
It's making the most of what we've got here though, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all living in the same kind of world out here, but I do find a lot of women especially are coming over from the UK or other places, and they're like, oh my God, all these rich foods, all these brunches, increased amount of alcohol, because we do have this kind of lifestyle here. And then all of a sudden, their guts are starting to have problems that may have already been there, and they've just been obviously like highlighted by the lifestyle change out here and the change of diet and stuff. But there is ways of navigating it. You just have to be a little bit more strict and a little bit more restrictive in the beginning. But, you know, like we said before, knowledge is power. Once you know the right things to be doing, it really does help. And as I always say, it's the tiny little things just that we're doing every single day.
It is. And I do think as well, obviously everyone is different, right? We all have different foods that we react to. We're all unique in different ways. But I guess one of the things that I do with my clients is to do sort of a bit of like an elimination diet. Like work out your triggers, write things down. You know, if you are getting pain every day, you know, note what you're eating. And, you know, say, okay, eggs, after you've eaten eggs, are you suddenly getting bloating, or are you getting a harsh pain, or whatever it may be? You know, if that's the case, then eliminate it for a week. You know, see if it comes back. Like, you do have to put in the work, unfortunately, to really find your triggers. You know, you don't just want to be like, oh, let's take out gluten, you know, I'm obviously not, I really promote a gluten-free diet, but don't just like take it out and think that all your problems are going to go away, because that's not necessarily the case, you know what I mean?
Or taking it out for a week and then a client will message me.
Yeah, so true.
Oops, sorry, just ate a croissant.
Yeah.
You know, it takes 30 days at least for traces of gluten to come out of your system.
Yeah, it does.
And you need to have that dedication. Again, it comes back to the mindset, your why are you doing this? It needs to be bigger than the excuses you're giving me.
Agreed.
Don't get me wrong, I love a croissant too. They taste amazing.
So good.
Exactly. But if you want to get to the bottom of this and you really want to have that long-term healing effect, we do need to make a little bit of sacrifice in the beginning. But I do try to make it, a bit more fun for clients. Again, sustainable.
Yeah.
Maybe it might take us a little bit longer to get there, but I want it to be sustainable, because it can be really overwhelming. Taking all this stuff out, adding all these new things in. So the way I work with clients is very slow and steady wins the race, like a nice little layering approach. Like, we try and take a step forward, but we may have to take a slight step back so that we can step forward again. And that's why that coaching side and that accountability with this type of healing journey is so crucial. Yeah. I wouldn't be here without it. The reason I've become a coach is because the coaches that have helped me in the past have got me here. I've tried so many times on my own. Yeah. I don't know about you, like, it's frustrating, it's overwhelming, you feel lost, you feel alone, you feel like it's going to sound dramatic, but like, we do like to be drama queens every now and again. I felt like, right, I'm the only person in this whole entire world who's dealing with this. Like, why does no one understand me?
Literally, no one. Oh my God, for years I'd be crying into my pillow like, no one gets it. I'm always the biggest one of my friends and I can't understand X, Y, and Z. Like, oh God. Yeah. Been there, got that t-shirt, for sure. For sure. So again, back to it, like, we can relate so massively to our clients, to other females out there, right? I'd like to say I've got an absolutely massive heart. You're probably the same, but it's because we've had such low lows. Yeah. All of those the struggles and suffering that you went through, right? It just makes you empathize so much more.
Oh, massively. Like, I literally feel it here. Yeah. I onboarded a new client yesterday, and she was like, hopefully you get it, hopefully you can relate. And I'm like, babe, like, I feel like, I literally feel it here, right here in the chest. Like, I've been there, I get it. And all I am, like, I'm sure you promote to your clients as well, I'm just a tiny step ahead. I'm still on a journey. This is a lifetime journey. It's a change of lifestyle. Life is happening all the time. It's how we react to it. It's having those tools and that knowledge to be like, you know what, I'm going for a little bit of stress right now in life because this is happening or that's happening. Right, how can I best support my gut? How best can I support my mental health right now while I'm going through these things, just to help myself a little bit so I don't go back to that place. But yeah, it hits me right here because we've all been there, we've all had those low moments. And I don't think there's a lot of coaches out there that haven't been through the exact journey that they are going through with their clients.
There's a few now. I do feel like the coach world, it's maybe a bit of a buzzword as well. I feel there's been a lot more more saturated recently. Yeah. And I feel like, I personally had a few experiences with said business coaches that haven't actually turned out to be said business coach, Yeah. So I would say, you have to be, I guess, a bit careful with who you pick.
I think so.
And, make sure that you actually, do your research, not research around them, but, watch them for a little bit. Make sure that they're your vibe, because there's lots of different coaches, different reasons as well. Yeah. Someone might not like me because I like to go out sometimes, so, and that's totally fine.
Yeah,
we're all looking for something different.
Yeah, especially if you coach the same type of thing. Like, there's other gut health coaches out, there's other mindset coaches doing similar stuff, but the only difference is me.
Yeah.
The only difference is my approach, my vibe, the way I am as a person, my journey that you may or may not relate to. But where there's been so much stuff, most clients that I come to, I'm like, it's either exact the same thing or it's like very, very similar, or a similar mindset or a similar place that they've gone to. Like, that you end up in that hole and you're just like, well, I've hit rock bottom now. Like, literally the only way is up. And I'm always so proud of people that come to me because I'm just like, just for being here, just for turning up on that Zoom call is such a huge step,
Yeah, because you actually just accept, right? Because also it's really hard to ask for help sometimes. We're all stubborn in our own ways.
I'm a Leo hun. So
it's actually so hard to be like, you know what? I'm struggling here. I need some help. I had to do it the other week, but just because of my own, I think when work gets too much, we leave ourselves along the way. And I was like, right, I'm not feeling great in myself, I'm going for a personal trainer, have a bit more structure and guidance. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
Like, we're not superheroes every single day. We don't know everything in this world, and you have to just sometimes drop your stubbornness and ego a little bit and just say, right, this person's going to help. I think of it as, say it to my clients, like, it's not actually a pain, but I mean, I guess you can, finances, I guess, are also a bit of a challenge. People understand that, but, it's a short-term pain, if you want to say a cost, for like life-changing and long-term gain.
Yeah.
Like, you don't deserve to be in pain every day with your gut. PCOS, you don't deserve to be feeling exhausted and have, suffer with like confidence and acne and not being able to get pregnant. Talking about the pain thing, that I literally burst into tears every time either like a client becomes pregnant or they, had a huge milestone. I'm like the most emotional wreck ever.
It's huge, right? Like, you're out there changing lives.
Yeah, like
you literally are.
Yeah,
for being vulnerable as well. I think that's the hardest part that I found. I don't know if you went through that. Becoming a coach is like, right, I'm actually gonna have to speak about all the things that I actually tried to hide.
Yeah.
Especially from such a young age, like having anxiety and depression at 15. I remember my parents not really wanting to like tell a lot of people, not because they were ashamed or anything, but because they just didn't really know what to do about it. Or it was like a bit of this stigma around it, like, oh, are you like a little bit ill, or like what's wrong, and all of this stuff. And now I've had to go through my own journey to be able to open up about stuff, but it's always worth it. It's always worth, I don't care what people think. There's always going to be haters out there, people that still have this stigma or whatever, but if it helps somebody, I've always just thought, if whatever I'm saying helps at least one person, it's more than worth it. Definitely.
Okay, so takeaways are anti-inflammatory diet and basically to slow the F down in this crazy world that we live in.
Yes, especially here.
Yeah. Okay, fab. So, Danny, I thought that was unbelievable. I think there's so many takeaways that hopefully a lot of women listening and watching can take away from this. We are at the Myco Studios. So, Danny, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We could have sat and chatted for hours.
No.
But where can everyone find you?
So I'm mainly on Instagram. That's the main platform that I work from. So at Coached by Francoise. So my name's Danielle Francoise, but it's at Coached by Francoise. And they can just drop me a DM.
Great. Drop her a DM if you're interested to learn more about the gut, how you can work with Danny as well. But yeah, she also shares some really great knowledge. So check out her Instagram today. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the PCOS Party Podcast. My name is G, and we will see you next week. Take care.